Welcome back, guys, and today we are looking at probably one of my most anticipated figures of the winding days of McFarlane, and that is Connor Hawke. I wished it into existence, and it happened. So I grew up with this character mostly because of the figure that I had, but also he was in the comics of the Robin books that I was reading at the time. So to get this version of Green Arrow, Connor Hawke, is super exciting. And if you're not familiar with him, I believe he's Oliver Queen's son. Oliver Queen, I think, didn't want anything to do with him, but he eventually took on the mantle once Oliver Queen died, and then he came back to life, so on and so forth. This guy's kind of had a tumultuous history with DC. I don't know if he's made an appearance in a while, so that kind of stinks. But the look of this Green Arrow, for me, was always a lot cooler than that Robin Hood mustache goatee look. I was never a fan of that. Looked too much like Robin Hood. This guy was kind of like if Green Arrow met Nightwing or met Robin. So definitely a fan of this look, and I have to give a big shout out to Dave Wonder. Really appreciate it. When I was in Minneapolis this last weekend, he hooked it up. He not only found the figure, but then gave me and my fiance a ride to the airport. So super kind of him. Dave, if you're watching this, thank you so much, pal. Really appreciate that. Cool artwork on the back. That's probably a new image. I'm not sure if that's from an actual comic. So pretty cool. I like how the buildings are blurred out. Kind of gives you the effect that he's falling. But this is a figure that I've been wanting. And there is another character I want, which would then just kind of complete my 90s comic book reading dream. And I'll talk about that character at the end. But let's go ahead and get this guy out of the package and check him out. Okay, here's Connor Hawke out of the package. And he pretty much, this is one of the few McFarlane figures that looks exactly how I want him to look straight out of the package. So really cool. Let's start off with the face. He looks young. He has that great green bandana with some black around the eyes. The hair looks great. The bandana is cool. I do wish maybe it was a little longer, but this is fine. I'm not going to nitpick it too much. He has some leather material texture on the brown part. You can see the hood rolled down. Would have been cool to get an alternative head with the hood, but it's McFarlane, so I can't expect too much. Nice paint on the belt, and then McFarlane's going to McFarlane with all this texture. So he does have some pouches, does have some nice leather detail on the boots. He has his gold gauntlet here to protect his hand when he's shooting off arrows. Then on the back, see some silver work on the belt, and you get a better look at that hood. So looks wise, looks fantastic. He does have some limited arm movement because of the design, so if you wanted him to hold his arrow like a true archer is, you have to get really creative. So you can probably have him like this, but I'll show you the bow and arrow in a second. It definitely stretches, but you have to kind of crook his arm a bit if you want to get him holding it with the string pulled out. So a little limited there. Doesn't have much crunch forward. Can move back that way. The head, skip that. Can look down, which is good because he's usually kind of on top of buildings. So that's pretty good to get him there. And then he does have some good leg movement, which is good because usually if he's hanging out on top of a building, you kind of want him in like one of these positions. So the fact that you can do that, pretty cool. The diaper doesn't inhibit it all too much, but I think first time getting a Connor Hawke in the McFarlane line took far too long, but I'm happy to get him. A lot of people were complaining about the skin tone, saying that he's too white, he's mixed race, so he should be a little darker. I've seen in different artwork where he is a little lighter, he's a little darker, so I think this is somewhere in the middle. Maybe he could have been a little darker, but at least he's not pasty white like our boy Tim Drake over here, who's really pasty, so he at least has a tanner complexion than Robin. Now, I bring this Robin figure out all the time. They look about the same height, but this guy's just a thick boy. He should be almost on the same buck as him. They sort of look like they're on the same buck, but this one is a little thicker, probably because of the armor. So maybe if they did a little less is more with this one, he'd pair well. But these two, I have fond memories of comic books with these two together. These kind of were like Robin's off hanging out with his friends. It was Green Arrow, and it was another character that I wish we'd get. So if McFarlane can complete my trifecta of who I'd want, to build out kind of my fantasy teenage DC years is a Stephanie Brown spoiler. This was my first introduction to Connor Hawke, reading this Robin comic book. This is actually one of my favorite comic book covers ever. Just has a lot of motion in it with Robin's hair moving. You know, they're trying to hold him back. Not have to reread this to see what they're holding him back from, but I don't think we've gotten this version of spoiler ever. I think there's been a version of spoiler in the old DC Universe or DC Classics line, but it was not this one. I do think we're getting a Stephanie Brown Robin, which, if that's the only Stephanie Brown we're getting, maybe I'll get it, but I really want this spoiler, and then I can recreate this scene with Connor Hawke and Tim Drake. So let's check out some accessories. You do get the base, which is probably good because I've been having a hard time standing this guy. You get the card that matches the artwork on the back of the box. You get the quiver for the arrows, which has some nice leather texture on it. There's not much paint on it. There's actually no paint on it. And then you get this stack of arrows. It kind of looks like broccoli. Mine's a little bent, but this is accurate to at least the comic. He always had green arrows. That's the name. But he does not come with a single arrow, so that's kind of a bummer. Bow, on the other hand, is actually pretty nice. So it has actual gold paint on it, so pretty cool. The rest is just black and brown, so brown for the handle and then black for the string. This thing, when you bend it back, it kind of stays there, so you almost got to bend it back. So hopefully I don't snap this. So I'm happy that they gave us a little detail on the bow, but it would have been nice if they actually gave us an arrow. Now, if you are trying to plug the quiver into the back, it's not a good fit, so you kind of have to like wiggle in there, probably heat it up. You know, I put it in there and then I keep finding that it falls out. It does make him a little back heavy. Everything I'm seeing, he holds the bow with his left hand, so I guess that's where I'll keep it there. And since he doesn't have an arrow, I found one of these other arrows. It comes with a different figure, so I mean, it's not the same. This might be a cool, just kind of custom thing to do. Make green arrows some trick arrows. So in the meantime, if I wanted him to kind of shoot one, I can have a loose one in there. It's not green, but still pretty cool. And I mentioned that comic book was my first introduction to Connor Hawke. My second introduction to Connor Hawke was the Total Justice figure. So I don't know if this was the first time that figure was made. I guess around the same time I was reading the comic, he was the main Green Arrow. Pretty cool. He had a hole on his back. He had a bow and arrow that was sculpted together, so it was just one piece. I actually would have liked if the McFarlane one would have came with that, so you can at least had a little more of a dynamic figure, right? So when I'm putting the arrow in his hand and bending the string, I feel like I'm gonna break it. So that was pretty cool, and they had that peg there so you wouldn't lose it. I lost it, but it was Total Justice, so they came with all these cool like trajectory or projectile weapons. So this one was cool. I don't know, this guy can't stand up anymore. Oh, he's pretty good. But you would just take this little projectile weapon, always had the cool translucent plastic, and there's a button on the inside, and then just kind of fire it off. Didn't even phase him. And I thought this would be fun, just getting some of the best, greatest archers of pop culture history all together. Not this one. Okay, this is probably, of the figures in my collection, these are the greatest archers of pop culture history. I'm probably missing a few. I don't have a Legolas figure. I don't have a Katniss figure. But who else is just, their thing is, they're the one with the bow. Like, that is their thing. So I think these four characters, that's pretty much their thing. So I got them all together. Pretty cool. That's all I got, folks. So is this your favorite Green Arrow? Do you like the original Oliver Queen? You know, this figure, or this character, has always been kind of near and dear to my heart. I do know that he made an appearance in Arrow, so that was pretty cool. But this look, this super 90s look where he could have been Nightwing or Robin adjacent, and then he was just one of Robin's best pals. I love this character so much. I can't believe we're getting it in the last legs of the McFarlane line, but I'm so happy. So Hope you enjoyed this one, folks. Had some fun with some other figures, and hope you enjoyed the montage. I don't normally do that. But until the next episode, we'll catch you next time.